At the bottom of the world lies a continent we are conditioned to view as a graveyard. We are taught that Antarctica is lifeless, empty, a frozen wasteland where the sun refuses to set and survival is a brutal, unforgiving challenge. But what if the ice isn't a barrier? What if it's a lid? For decades, fragmented reports have drifted out of the erratic silence of the South Pole. They speak of alleged anomalies that defy geology, of restricted zones where, according to some accounts, pilots have been warned away under threat of force, and of a specific discovery, 2 miles down, that some claim suggests we are not the first ones to build here. This is the story of a structure that, if these testimonies are true, shouldn't exist, and the people who risked everything to whisper its name. To understand the claims, you must understand the keeper. Linda Moulton Howe is not a typical journalist. A Stanford-educated investigator and regional Emmy winner, she spent her early career exposing environmental hazards. But in the 1980s, her work crossed an invisible line. She became a magnet for the impossible. It's important to note that Howe is a polarizing figure. Her later work on UFOs, cattle mutilations, and government cover-ups has drawn both devoted followers and sharp criticism. Skeptics argue her investigations rely heavily on anonymous sources and lack verifiable documentation. Supporters counter that such documentation is precisely what whistleblowers cannot provide. Regardless of where you stand, her collection of testimonies regarding Antarctica remains among the most detailed in the field. According to Howe, they came to her: retired Navy SEALs, flight engineers, intelligence officers, men who had signed non-disclosure agreements that lasted a lifetime. They approached her not with wild conspiracies, but with the quiet, procedural details of men unburdening themselves of a heavy truth. They didn't tell her stories, she claims. They gave her coordinates. The accounts, if taken at face value, are unsettlingly specific. They don't describe aliens or magic, they describe engineering. But it's worth noting, an impossible underground heated city is itself a fantastical claim, regardless of how it's framed. One alleged witness, described as a retired naval officer, detailed a mission that began not on the ice, but beneath it. A submarine insertion through a massive submerged tunnel that supposedly bypassed the need for airlocks. Another described an overland trek to a claimed no-fly zone near the pole, leading to an octagonal breach in the ice, a ramp descending into the darkness. What they claim to have found down there, if true, would challenge the timeline of human history. According to these testimonies, they walked into massive chambers carved directly into black basalt. These weren't rough caves. They were described as architectural masterpieces, rooms allegedly covering 9 acres, large enough to swallow a city block, with ceilings soaring 80 feet high. No support columns, no visible beams, just what they characterized as impossible geometry holding up millions of tons of ice. But the claimed anomaly that stands out most is the environment. 2 miles beneath the coldest place on Earth, the air was allegedly a steady, comfortable 68 degrees Fahrenheit. There were no light bulbs, no panels. Yet according to these accounts, the shadows were banished by a pervasive, sourceless luminescence that seemed to react to their presence. And then there were the walls. Witnesses described acres of walls covered in precise, laser-etched hieroglyphs. Archaeologists, allegedly brought into a black budget program, struggled to identify them. They reportedly saw echoes of Mayan, traces of Egyptian, but the syntax was alien to known history. Every symbol was said to be cut to a uniform depth of 7 centimeters. No tool marks, no erosion. It was as if, they claimed, the stone had been edited by software. How would you hide a discovery this massive? According to those who believe, you don't need threats of violence. You simply use the terrain. Antarctica is a prison of necessity. There are no independent witnesses at the South Pole. You eat, sleep, and survive solely because the chain of command allows it. If you see something you shouldn't, you aren't taken to a dark room and beaten. You are simply reminded of your pension, your funding, your family back home. The alleged whistleblowers describe a pressure that is polite, bureaucratic, and absolute. If their accounts are accurate, the system is designed so that courage looks like self-destruction. For 40 years, they say, the silence held. But silence has a half-life. We are seeing a surge in such testimony now, proponents argue, for two reasons. The first is the ice itself. As the planet warms, the frozen shield protecting any potential secrets is thinning. Satellites see deeper. Independent drones fly further. The physical cover-up, if one exists, may be melting away. The second reason is human mortality. The men who claim to have seen these things are reaching the end of their lives. The threat of a ruined career holds no power over a man on his deathbed. We may be witnessing a before-I-die phenomenon, a final unburdening, a choice to prioritize legacy over security. They appear to believe that if they don't speak now, their version of the truth dies with them. Before we weigh these claims, we must examine what the scientific community actually knows about what lies beneath Antarctica. Modern satellites equipped with thermal sensors continuously monitor the continent. If 9-acre heated chambers existed at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, they would create thermal plumes visible from orbit. No such anomalies have been published, or, crucially, leaked, despite decades of observation by multiple nations with competing interests. Ground-penetrating radar has mapped significant portions of the subglacial landscape. We've discovered lakes, mountain ranges, and ancient riverbeds. These findings have been openly published in peer-reviewed journals. If similar technology detected carved basalt chambers, maintaining a global conspiracy of silence across dozens of independent research programs would be unprecedented. Dr. Sarah Chen, a glaciologist who has spent 15 years studying Antarctic ice dynamics, offers a blunt assessment.
The ice tells us its history. Every layer is a record. If there were artificial heat sources or massive cavities, we would see the disturbance in core samples. We would see the melt signatures. The ice doesn't lie, and it doesn't keep secrets well.
Skeptics also point to the nature of the testimony itself. Specificity, they note, is not the same as verification. Detailed claims can emerge from genuine experience, but they can also emerge from shared mythology, leading questions, or the human tendency to construct coherent narratives from fragmentary memories. The accounts may be consistent, but so are urban legends. So, where does that leave us? Suspended between the impossible and the unproven. The skeptics present a formidable case. The absence of thermal signatures, the lack of physical samples, the failure of any verifiable documentation to surface despite the alleged involvement of hundreds of personnel over decades. If this secret exists, it would require a level of coordinated suppression that dwarfs any known historical precedent. And yet, the consistency of the accounts raises its own questions. Different men, different decades, different branches of service, all describing similar black stone, similar temperatures, similar feelings of awe. Is this evidence of a shared truth, or evidence of a shared story, passed between believers and refined over time? Antarctica is a continent the size of the United States and Europe combined. We have mapped, but not explored, vast regions beneath the ice. Is it a frozen wilderness? Or could it hold secrets we haven't yet found the tools to verify? The honest answer is that we don't know. The testimonies presented here are unverified. The physical evidence remains absent. What we have are stories, compelling, detailed, and frustratingly unprovable. Perhaps the ice holds ancient wonders. Perhaps these are the confabulations of aging men seeking meaning. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, real experiences distorted through memory and mythology. For now, the ice keeps its counsel, and we are left not with answers, but with the discomfort of an open question.